John PearlJammer Turner and Tracey XTraCey Nguyen sit on an elite list of professional poker-playing power couples, along with the likes of Phil Locke and Jennifer Tilly, and Chip and Karina Jett. John is one of the original legends of online poker and has millions of dollars in winnings in his chosen profession. The 25-year-old poker prodigy has taken down the biggest events on almost every major poker site out there. His biggest score came in September of this year when he finished in second place in the PokerStars Sunday Million, earning an even $100,000 after the chop. The virtual railbirds are always overflowing in the chat boxes when PearlJammer is sitting at a table. However, the number of railbirds sweating Tracey's tables easily rivals the number at John's. Tracey packs beauty and poker know-how into a powerful 1-2 punch. The comparatively short amount of time that Tracey has been playing poker professionally hasn't stopped the 27-year-old from quickly becoming one of the top online players out there. She's played a huge volume of tournaments daily to hone her skills, and although she's currently taking a self-imposed break, she plans to jump right back in the action very soon. Her biggest payday to date was when she made the final table of the PokerStars Sunday Million. She eventually finished in 5th place, earning a whopping $79,000 for her troubles. The couple just recently got back from a stint playing overseas tournaments, and Card Player has them both in the studio now to talk strategy. Alright, well thank you very much for joining us, guys. How have you been?
We're okay, just kind of relaxing. First time we're back from not traveling, so first time in a while we got to stay home for more than 10 days.
Yeah, seriously, you guys have been traveling a lot of places on the tournament circuit lately, so it must be a relief to kind of be able to just hang back for a while, huh?
Yeah, we had a long trip to Europe. I was gone for about, I guess, 3.5 weeks or so, and she joined me for about a week and a half of that because she had a little bit of passport problems. But we had that trip, and then we had Aruba right after that. So it's been a lot more travel than we're used to lately, just because of thanks to Seats went online, and but since we've been back, it's just been back to the online grind, and then I guess the next series coming up is Bellagio. Great.
Well, who's better at poker between the two of you? Are you going to be able to tell me?
No, I can't answer that question.
It's very understandable. Well, what aspects of each other's games do you admire and aspire to?
Well...
What?
I don't know. I mean, we've always played very similar styles. I have, however, picked up, a lot of different things from him. But, I like the fact that, he's just so active, like, later in tournaments, and it's crazy watching him play. Like, for a while I didn't understand what the heck he was doing, but...
Watching him play and being able to see his whole cards at the same time.
Yeah, but now I understand the method behind his madness, and it works. So.
Well, yeah, you definitely have a unique privilege, because a lot of people would love to be able to see every single hand that he's playing.
Yeah, but, aside from the fact that it makes me dizzy sometimes, because, like, there's times where we'll have, like, a dozen tables going, and just trying to keep up with, all the action, and he plays a lot of hands, and it's just amazing watching him. I mean, you'd think that he'd sit back and just kind of nut camp a little bit, but he doesn't really do that. He plays, he's in so many pots, and on, like, several different tables, and it's just so hard to keep up sometimes. So...
Well, how many tables do each of you play at once then? She was saying that you played probably like 12 at once or so?
I'd say most of the time I'm average of about 10.
Okay.
And sometimes it's up to, I think I was on 16 at one point this Sunday.
Okay.
That gets up to about there at some points, but usually it's about 8 to 10, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I don't like to exceed 8. I mean, 6 to 8 is comfortable, but lately, since I haven't been playing as much, I just kind of keep it like below 6. So...
Okay, and you were actually telling me before the interview started that you've kind of calmed down a little bit for a while in September after all of the traveling and stuff that you were doing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just taking a little break. Not doing as well as I'd like to be. I think I'm playing well, but things aren't working out for me. I'm just kind of getting nailed by variance right now. So, and I figured that instead of trying to challenge it, which is the stupidest thing anyone can do, is just take a break and find other hobbies and other things to get into. And I've been getting a lot into cooking, which he loves. So I've been cooking a lot, and I've just been hanging out and I'm ready to come back. I still play like daily, maybe like 1 or 2 tournaments, here and there. But I play when I want to play, and that's most important to me right now. Is that I just want to have that desire to play. I don't want it to be a chore. I don't want it to feel like a job. I should enjoy what I'm doing. And I notice that when I'm playing because I want to play, I play my best. So and I don't feel like I need to do.
So play at most of the majors, and then. Basically, especially when like F-Tops and W-Cubes, some of the bigger events for sure, and then some of the bigger daily ones, but basically just keep it down to maybe 3 tables, just 3 tournaments, and it's amazing how many days she'll be in there cashing in 2 of the 3. Yeah. I'm playing in 20 tournaments and I cash in hopefully like 2 or 3 all day. She gets 2 or 3 of hers, but yeah, she hasn't had a deep score recently. The variance has just really kicked in later on, and there's been some rough stuff. So.
Well, you had said earlier that you guys kind of have you've had a very similar style for a while. Is that even before you met him, you kind of had a similar style?
Yeah. What's funny is like when I first met him, he had just barely emerged onto the online poker scene, and I recognized his name. Never really had any interaction with him on the tables, and when we met and got to talking and started observing each other's game, like we realized how similar we played. Because we played very, very similar styles, and from there, I thought that he would be completely different, but he plays very similar to the way I play. When I was taught by Risen, so
I think the biggest change that maybe she's made is just opening up her game more. Like she said before. But overall, when we first met, that was. We didn't. It's not. We weren't playing poker. The first day we met or anything. But when I first saw her play poker, I was very surprised and kind of really happy inside to see that
she's actually.
It's not like I'm going to be sitting here with her trying to and hopefully maybe changing up her style or anything. Because I was very, very surprised how well she was playing. It is overall very similar style to mine.
Well. Do you guys think that it's easier or harder being romantically involved with another poker pro?
You know what? A lot of poker players would like to tell you, especially the males, would like to tell you that, I wish I could find a girl that played poker, it'd be so awesome. But to be completely honest, it's a lot harder than what it seems like it would be. Not only do I have to, deal with my swings, but I have to deal with his too. And obviously anytime you're involved in relationships, that each other's attitudes and the way we react to things kind of rub off on each other. And if I'm in a bad mood, he's in a bad mood, and vice versa. So it's hard, and it's just like poker, and honing your skills, it takes experience. And I feel that in order to work out with another person that plays poker, that it takes experience too, and just day by day, just kind of finding new ways to deal with things, because it used to drive me nuts, like the way I would react or he would react, and over time it's gotten a lot better. So in the beginning it's a lot harder than it seems to be, but over time it gets a lot easier.
Yeah, at the very start it seemed like such an amazing thing, and then after maybe a little bit of time you can get on each other's nerves in ways.
Yeah.
And, especially while you're playing, or the way you're talking about hands or something like that, and then but through experience and talking together and just getting to know each other even better and better, then eventually the vast majority of that goes away.
Right. Well, and what are some of the positive aspects of it?
Oh, well, I think the number one obvious positive aspect is that it's just so much. It's so nice to be able to discuss hands, and this is what it's what we both do for a living, and we spend a lot of time playing and watching poker on TV and talking about it and hanging out playing live, and just it's so nice to have that in common. That's the number one thing you're doing.
We just understand each other on a whole other level, and not very many couples have that.
When it's both your work and your play. So when that's what poker is for us and for a lot of people, then to be able to experience that together and be able to just to experience the ups and downs, which sometimes can be bad, but yeah, overall it's a great thing.
We can actually talk and relate and understand what we're talking about.
Well, you guys both live here locally in Vegas. What's your favorite place to play in Vegas, and what do you play when you play there?
That's really hard to say.
Do you guys play much locally at all? I mean, like live?
We used to, but lately we've been getting out more since I haven't been playing as much. Like, I've been having more fun time. So, one of my most favorite places to play is Bellagio, obviously. The games there are always good, but recently we found a new place, and that's right by our house, which is a station casino. It's Green Valley Ranch. I mean, it's amazing how big the games get there for the stakes that they are. And we normally just kind of screw around and have fun and play, 1-2, 2-5, stuff like that. Maybe we'll mess around in like table games here and there, but we try not to.
Yeah, we'll go out and play, and just maybe after we played a long day online and go out, and if we're doing something, just going out with friends, going bowling or going to a movie or something, and then we'll mess around and play a little 1-2 or 2-5 and just have fun with it, pretty much.
Green Valley Ranch has to be recently our favorite place. I mean, we run into so many good friends there. We run into Fishman there, and we run into Friedberg there all the time. So, and a lot of people go play there. The games are actually really good there.
Yeah, it's mostly locals, but it's a surprising amount of
a lot of action.
Loose action. So.
Well, when you're playing something like 1-2 or 2-5, how hard is it for you to take it seriously?
Well, I think I can certainly take the 2-5 game seriously, as can she. I mean, there's times sure if it's a smaller one that it's not that big a deal, but I mean those games, you can be there with where the average stack on table is 2,000 or 3,000. Green Valley has a 1,000 buy-in. I mean, and I've always been one to play well below my bankroll, and just to be content with as long as I'm doing well at those levels, to not really be in a rush to kind of move up.
I don't know how you do well at those levels.
But it's basically basically like, I mean, I'm looking to move up, so to speak, in big tournaments, that kind of thing. But as far as high cash games, I'm not one. I hate to have to experience very high levels of variance that can come with cash games, but can also come with tournaments. But I'm much more comfortable with the tournament buy-ins.
Well, for games like 1-2 and 2-5, like you were saying, they tend to play a lot bigger than they are. Like, when you're playing a 1-2 game, it's definitely not unheard of to have an open raise or raise for $12 to $20. And so I would have to assume you change your game and you change your starting hand selection and just your aggressiveness and everything compared to online. So what do you do in that kind of situation?
Well, the 1-2 games are really mostly just us and a couple roommates.
Just splashing around.
Just basically splashing around and having fun and gambling a lot and just having a very loose image. And lately I've been doing surprisingly well at this because
I don't know how.
You get paid off huge on your big hands because you're literally I'll put in a re-raise to 75 would do 7 and show it and I mean I'll get away with the vast majority of the time there, but at the same time it creates such an image that it's amazing how it's so easy to get paid off when you do make something big. But the 1-2 games are really just having fun with friends for a little while. The 2-5 is definitely a little more serious.
Yeah, we actually take that a little bit more seriously. Actually think about things. Even though you still play pretty crazy at that level, he thinks a little bit more. He looks a little bit more serious. It's not like blatant, like, I'm just throwing chips in here just because I want to.
Right. Well, like we said before, you guys just spent some time in Europe. How hard is it to get acclimated to certain things like difference in scenery and difference in time zones and any different tournament rules that they may have there?
Like that, I didn't get to go to Barcelona, and I really wanted to because of that. I just wanted to see how it worked. Like, how did the dealers, what language were they speaking? Were they speaking Spanish, And it was just, I feel, I didn't get to play in that atmosphere because when I went to London and, Aruba, they were, English speaking for the most part. But, I can't even fathom how that would be. I mean, it would just, to me, it seems like it'd be really difficult or not just difficult, but I think you really need to be more attentive and pay attention to actions instead of actually hearing things because of the the language barrier that we have. But I didn't get to experience that, so I wouldn't know. But as far as I think the toughest part is just getting there. And I hate traveling. I hate flying. So just getting there. As long as I get a good night's sleep, I think I'm fine for the most part. I mean, if you're a poker player, you know that you need to adapt to different situations, so you should be able to pick up on it pretty quickly. So I don't think that's a problem for the most part. There
was a time at the Barcelona EPT table when there were 3 players in the hand, and this is just at my first table, and two of them were Spanish speaking and one was English, and the dealer's doing a little of both, But then during the hand, all of a sudden, these two guys just break out into a conversation in Spanish. And like several of the players at the table, English speaking, were all looking at each other like,
"Are we allowed to say English only?"
What's supposed to happen here? And nobody said anything, and they just kept going, and the hand just played out. But it just, if I was the English player caught in the middle there, I assume I would have definitely said something to the dealer or something. It didn't seem right. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it was never really addressed, so.
Yeah,
maybe it's not against the rules.
I was going to say, was it never even in the rules?
It was never
initially?
addressed, and I only lasted about 5 hours in tournament, so I didn't.
That really makes me wonder if, like, the EPT series and stuff, and all those, series that they have, like, in other countries and stuff, if they're even considering those things, like, what's going to be their primary language here,
It's a lot harder with all the multiple languages, especially.
Yeah, that's so I think that's probably the next step in poker overall, is, like, trying to overcome the language barrier and stuff like that. Developing universal rules and stuff, just to kind of, because that would be a really difficult situation to be in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So,
well,
I don't know how you did it.
I didn't do it.
Hey,
It lasted about 5 hours.
It would have been like, hey.
Well, John, you're kind of an online poker legend of sorts. How did you get your start in online poker, or in poker period?
One common misconception is that people think I'm an online player, but I did start off playing live for several years, and I moved to Vegas just to play in live cash games, and then basically in Vegas I discovered tournaments. And once I did that, I kind of looked back to online, where I used to play some really low limit cash games just when I was first getting started, and just to discover what there was to offer. And I found so much in the way of multi-table tournaments, and just basically took off in those immediately once I started up, and really haven't looked back. It's the most, by far, my most steady and very profitable games have been online MTTs, and just so ever since I discovered those back in, I guess it was about 2 years ago right now, I'd never really felt a need to look back as far as my main play goes.
So in the early stages, did you dabble in cash games and tournaments, or was it just primarily tournaments?
Oh, well, in the early stages of my career, so to speak, I was mostly cash games. But and cash games online, just small stuff. But then
so like how small? Like what kind of stakes were you playing?
I would only be playing like 25 cent, 50 cent in the limit, or $50 up to about 1-2. But I went from like 3 or 4 tables at first to about 8 to 10 tables. So pretty quickly I started playing a lot of tables of it. And so I mean, you could have a day at playing 25 cent, 50 cent, especially back on the party poker days of making $1,000 in a day playing those stakes on 8 tables. So, yeah, that was very, at surprisingly low stakes, a very good way to kind of start off. And I don't think the cash games are near as good online these days as they were back then, but
for obvious reasons.
Yeah, but at the same time, I find that even though there's a lot of great online tournament players, especially playing all the big tournaments, there's still a lot of dead money out there, and overall they're still very profitable.
Well, what about with tournaments? Like, what kind of buy-ins were you playing initially, and how long did it take you to jump into like the $200 buy-in tournaments?
Well, once I started playing online, I was pretty much playing the big ones because I already had a bankroll. I didn't build my bankroll online. Yeah, I had it from that, and actually mainly after I was doing pretty well when I first moved to Vegas, but then just playing 2-5. But then I basically took 2 shots in the World Series in 2005 and got a $19K cash in a $3K event, and after that I did pretty well in the Bellagio daily tournaments, and I had a week where I played 5 of them, and I got top 3, including chopping 2 of them, and top 3 in 3 of them, and then I got like 5th in another one. So that was in 1 week, and then I kind of took off to Legends for my first main event right after that. And ever since, I mean, basically I caught the tournament bug with the World Series that year and then the Bellagio tournaments. And so once I jumped online, it was pretty much, I was playing the bigger buy-ins immediately.
Well, in the early stages, what kind of tools did you find especially helpful for you, or did you not use any tools, or was it all mainly experiential?
It was mostly, most of the tools I've always learned have just been conversing with friends who are very good poker players, and now I've got her and several roommates that are pretty good, and just a lot of other friends I met in the poker community. So it's mostly just talking with them. Sure, I've used Poker X Factor, of course, and as I've got a couple videos on there right now also. I'm not huge on the training site, so overall I'm more of a learner from experience.
Okay. What about you, Tracey? Like, how did you start to learn how to play?
Well, I grew up around it since I'm half Asian. My family celebrates Chinese New Year, and so I grew up around people playing Chinese poker a lot and stuff like that. So I was exposed to it, but I didn't really get into it until when I was about 21 or 22 or so like that. Because I used to shoot a lot of pool, and gradually one by one my friends weren't showing up to the pool halls, and I found out they were playing poker online, so I figured, hey, you know what, why not try it? And till this day I'm the only one that's still doing it. The rest of them are still like working their jobs and playing pool now, but I'm the only one that started and is still doing it. So that's how I started for the most part. I didn't, as far as strategy goes, I got very, very lucky. I mean, coming into poker, I just ran into the right people at the right time, and made some really good friends that are just like amazing players like Eric Lynch, Risen. This one player is by the name of Soupy. He used to play a lot, but he's just barely coming back now. But he's a known player. Was ranked up in the online rankings for a long time before he stopped playing for a bit. So I just got really lucky. I mean, most of the time, people have to network and actually seek out all the information, but a lot of it really just came to me. And for that I'm very fortunate, but it was up to me obviously to take the ball and run with it, and I did. And who's going to turn down all that information right there? So I just had some good players tuck me under the wing and show me the ropes, and I just went from there.
Yeah, she knew a lot of these good players like Risen and Ape Styles and Blow and several other people before we ever met. So
yeah, see, when he first came on to the pokers and the online poker scene, he didn't really know. People didn't know too much about him until a good friend of his and ours at least, Ape Styles, said something on Pocket Vibes and brought him up, and that's how he got his big little boom. But I remember my rails used to be a lot bigger than yours back then. But
they still are.
Not nowadays.
Some of them, maybe not on full tilt, but some of them.
Not nowadays.
Still plenty of little Railbird fans out there.
Yeah.
Well, actually, speaking of Full Tilt, you recently got scooped up by Full Tilt. Are you allowed to share any of the aspects of that deal with us?
I don't want to get into specifics, but yeah, they offered me a deal to be in red on there and get their normal rate back and stuff and the stuff that the pros get on there. But there's nothing major as far as staking goes or anything. But I'm very, very, very happy to be a part of the team. I think it's by far the number one type of any kind of team deal going on right now in poker, and great to have that recognition, and very fortunate and appreciative of being offered that.
And what do you do for your part with them? Like, do you have a set number of hours you have to play, or tournaments you have to go to, or anything like that?
Yeah, well, they make me play about. I honestly don't even know how many hours they make me play a month, because I already did much more than that anyway. So that was never an issue like it might be with some of the pros. But yeah, I'm supposed to play a certain number of hours, which of course I far exceed, and then and then I also and then like this past week I hosted an F-Tops event, which is basically just where you're basically hosting a big question and answer session for the first hour or so of the tournament, and that's about it. But yeah, it's hopefully there'll be more stuff in the future. I'm really not sure what they have in mind, but
great.
I'm
well,
happy to see what it is.
It's got to be really exciting then. That's good news for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Tracey, when you first started going out with John, was there anything particularly mind-blowing that you learned from him, or any like move that just kind of really took you aback?
I wouldn't say mind-blowing, but he got me into raising less pre-flop, just because, there's no point in, risking so much to just try and take down the blinds.
Smaller amounts.
Yeah, pretty much. Try and risk the least to win the most, pretty much, is what he taught me. And but the biggest thing, in my opinion, which I stated before, was he really taught me how to, open up my game later on. Because, being taught by Risen when I first came into poker, back then he was really, really, really tight aggressive. He's changed a lot since then, but back just 2 years ago, that was the biggest style of play. The most successful, people would say, would be tight aggressive. So that's how I started playing. But as over the years, poker's changed so much, and I had to pretty much find a way to get past that learning curve. And he taught me how to open up my game and exploit my tight image, and stuff like that, and I wouldn't never have thought to do that before. So that's really helped me a lot because, with the blind structures and tournaments, constantly going up, I need to be able to keep up, and I can't just sit back and wait for cards. Because even when I get short enough and I get those cards, a lot of times they won't hold up. So
yeah.
But as a female, I mean, I think to begin with, she has a natural tight image. I mean, people expect her to be that way. So even if they see through experience with her that she's not necessarily that way, it's still in the back of their mind that they kind of assume her to be.
A subconscious.
So it's, and she's definitely learned how to exploit that, and not overdo it, but still be able to exploit it, and she also has to, of course, make sure, and this is what we all have to do online, is make sure that the people we're exploiting the image against or whatever are, recognize it to begin with.
Right. Exactly.
That's key because you can't look at them face to face online. So you have to try to understand which players are based on through experience, just playing with them at the table.
Pretty much, I can only do it against good players.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of an interesting question that I've been thinking about lately. It used to be that the tight aggressive was the ideal way to play. It's starting to go more towards loose aggressive just because everyone started realizing that tight aggressive was the best way to play. Now people are realizing that loose aggressive is the best way to play, or the ideal way in a lot of situations. I mean, do you see it switching again anytime soon, or is it already in the process of switching?
I think it's already in the process.
Yeah, I completely, like I just said earlier, I mean, it's all about being ahead of the learning curve. And, poker is constantly changing. Constantly. I mean, so, you have to adapt to it and, like I said, be ahead of what everyone else is doing. So, yeah, I think it's already changing too.
Yeah, if everybody on the table is playing lag, and I guess when people talk about this, you usually talk about the 100 rebuys on stars, because, I mean, that's where all the best players are always playing. But if everybody there is playing lag, I mean, yeah, your best bet is to play tag overall.
Yeah, I mean, I play fire against fire.
And you gotta just be able to tell and just adjust according to your table at times, and I guess in the scheme of things, adjust according to how the game is going these days, and it is constantly changing. And I think the online world with as many great players are up and coming in it right now, and are already established there. But I think you can see it there a lot easier than you can in the live poker scene.
I think it's really important to try and be a chameleon, be able to change it up whenever you need to, because like I said, poker is constantly changing.
Right. Well, what do you guys think is the most undervalued asset of a poker player?
I'd say probably bankroll management. It's something that people don't think about to begin with because they're focusing on playing poker. But in the scheme of things, how you're handling your whole role and what kind of games you're playing in, making sure you're playing in the right and the best games the vast majority of the time. Leaving a game if you thought it was good, and then you realize that quickly, everybody thought it was good and they jumped in, and now the game's kind of gone bad. And you gotta, I mean, just being able to recognize that and get out of bad games and seek out new ones, and also, of course, not playing too high according to your bankroll. I mean, a lot of people have that flaw.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of players can be good players, but in order to be a successful, great player, that they need to have that level of discipline required, and bankroll management is really important. I mean, this is coming from somebody that had the worst bankroll management ever. Like when I first met him, my bankroll management I had none. But he taught me the importance of that and how it's really key in order to grow and be successful as a poker player. Otherwise, you're just going to be good. You're not going to be great. So
right,
you have to be able to manage a bankroll.
Well, here's a tougher one then. What's the most overvalued asset of a poker player?
That is a tough one. One thing that sticks out in my mind is kind of involves. I get a lot of PMs on Pocket Fives. People asking me to help them out, just saying that they got to have some one-on-one training and all this stuff. And I don't know. I've never really had that, to be honest. And sure, there are good training sites, of course, like Poker X Factor, and of course talking to friends and all, and especially who are very good and perhaps even better than you in poker is always a great thing. But I mean, it's really experience is the number one thing. I think people overvalue trying to have somebody teach them and just trying to have somebody drill it into them exactly how to play, because I mean, you can't. There's always going to be some aspect you have to be able to adjust the situation you're in. Yeah. Adjust to the situation you're in. There's always going to be different aspects of the play, and there's no way to just learn exactly how to play.
Don't get me wrong. I wish that I could take a pill or like just sit here and like be a good poker player through osmosis, but that's just not how it works. I mean, it takes time, and you know, the more hands you play, the more situations you put yourself in while you're playing poker. I mean, the more you're going to learn. So it's pretty simple, just experience, and that's something that people need to be patient about.
Right.
It's kind of hard to do at times, but it's all it takes, really.
Well, now here's probably the toughest question I'm going to ask you this entire interview. Who is the best poker player out there right now? And you can only name one person. You can't name anyone in this room, and because that would be a cop-out. And you have to say why you think they're the best poker player.
When you say best poker player, do you mean best multi-table tournament player, or do you mean just poker player in general?
Best poker player in our opinions.
Yeah, period. I mean, whatever. If you think one of the greatest values of a poker player is being able to play multiple tables, multi-table tournaments, then that's your idea of the best poker player. So that would be your best, your top poker player.
Well, in my opinion, I mean, I think that he's getting there, but I think that one of my favorite players is Scott Big Risky Clements.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just so flexible. I mean, pretty much anything he could do it. You know, I mean, online he can kill online. Live, he's killing live. I mean, Omaha, he kills Omaha. I mean, just in such a short span of time, he's won 2 bracelets. You know, and he hasn't won a no limit bracelet yet, but I mean, he's already won a WPT event recently. I mean, he's just amazing. So
Yeah, he would certainly work for most underlooked and or overlooked, I should say, most overlooked player out there. Who's really proven to be one of the greats in the game in the past couple of years. And yeah, he's won 2 bracelets in Omaha, and they were different Omaha games. One limit high low, I believe, and one pot limit high. And then he took down a WPT, a smaller one last year in Niagara. Now he took down the main event this year, and he's got a couple other smaller wins on the circuit now for sure. He's actually the one. He's the one player he's the one big online player that I actually met before I started playing online. And just met him down in a New Orleans circuit, and just immediately, I mean, I could tell he was a great player, and he had the attitude, and he had the.
Yep.
I mean, he's one of the nicest guys you ever meet, and he's got the attitude.
Not
and
only is he a great player, but he's
charisma.
just humble, and you know, he's just an overall nice guy, and couldn't, you know.
As far as finding somebody who these days is winning in tournaments, not just no limit, but
that's actually still nice and down to earth.
yeah, and can also just kill. And I mean, Omaha's his best game really, but then his no limit game is amazing too. And then, I mean, he's got the other skills too, and who knows? Next year he might win the horse or something.
Yeah, he's just so flexible, and I admire that. Like a player that can pretty much play anything and adapt to it and do well at it, and that's him. He does well, very well.
So I assume that Scott Clements was your answer as well?
I think Scott Clements would be a great answer right now. That's a really hard question to give an answer to, but
well, it's a really good answer, and it's a really good reasoning for the answer too.
Like it kind of came out of left field because people probably thought that'd be the last person I'd mention, but yeah, I really admire his game and who he is, and you know how he's doing in the poker community right now. I thought I'd throw it out there.
Great, absolutely. Well, that's all I've got for you. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to say?
I do have one thing in the works, something pretty exciting. Matthew Hilger, you know through Card Player, is publishing another book, and this one is a collaboration with me, Risen, and Ape Styles, Eric Lynch and John Van Fleet. We're all contributing a lot of hand histories and a lot of discussion towards them. Something a little bit similar to the Wonderful Harrington series, but it's going to be geared towards online MTTs, and we're going to be just kind of we got different styles, all 3 of us, and you're going to see a lot of hopefully a lot of stuff that'll help you be able to look at hands in several different ways, and it's something I've kind of was really excited to get involved with. And I'd always kind of thought that maybe a book could be in the future, but I didn't want to try to author one myself or anything. I didn't think that would be the best thing for me. But this project, as soon as I heard about it, I was really excited to get involved.
Yeah, that really does sound really great. So, and it's obviously something that a lot of our viewers would be interested in. So that sounds. Oh, do you have any kind of idea of when that might be released?
It's still in the early stages now. I think we're looking at definitely before the World Series next year.
Okay.
So somewhere in there.
So
great.
Just in time.
Great. Well, I really appreciate both of you coming in, and thank you guys for watching the Online Zone on Card Player TV.